Millionaire's disdain exposed. How a professional cleaner's incredible tango changed everything. The pulsing heart of Chicago buzzed with life, but for Elena, a single mother of two, the city underscored a relentless struggle. Each morning began in the dim light of dawn, waking her kids with a soft, "Rise and shine, my loves." By day she donned her waitressing apron at a small diner, serving up coffee and hope to regulars who shared their dreams across the counter. By night, she slipped into the shadows of luxury high-rises as a professional cleaner, confined to a world that sparkled with dreams that felt just out of reach. One fateful night, as she meticulously dusted Mr. Thompson's opulent penthouse adorned with crystal chandeliers and leather furniture, she unearthed an old record that caught her breath. Memories flooded in of her grandmother, a fiery tango dancer whose spirit poured through music. As she placed the record on the turntable and the sultry tango began to play, something deep within her stirred. The rich, vibrant notes wrapped around her like a warm embrace, and before she knew it, she was dancing. Her feet glided across the hardwood floor, a flow of grace she thought she'd lost forever. But in the midst of her dance, Mr. Thompson entered. For a moment, the scorn that usually shadowed his features faded, replaced by a glimmer of surprise. He watched her, perhaps for the first time seeing a woman, not just a cleaner. The room filled with an energy that crackled, alive with something beautiful and raw. Suddenly the moment shattered. Mrs. Thompson burst into the room, fury illuminating her face like a summer storm. "What do you think you're doing?" she screamed, misunderstanding Elena's joy for something malicious. Words flew like daggers, each one cutting deeper than the last. Elena's heart sank, fear of losing her job battling with anger at the injustice of it all. But in that turmoil, a flicker of hope kindled within her. Could this confrontation change Mr. Thompson's heart? Before she could ponder further, thoughts of a local talent show bubbled to the surface, a cultural event that could spotlight her dancing, a chance to challenge the perceptions that bound them all. The community was buzzing about it, and despite her apprehensions, she was urged by neighbors to give it a shot. She could feel the anticipation build, knowing she had something to prove not only for herself but for her children. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the show approached, every moment deepened the stakes. Her rhythm quickened, practicing each step not just for the show, but for her family's future that trembled in the balance. And then, a text from Mr. Thompson appeared, an unexpected message of support, but doubt crept in. Could his kindness be genuine or merely a fleeting sensation? Behind the curtain, Elena stood waiting for her name to be called. The murmurs of the crowd washed over her, each cheer amplifying the weight on her heart. The spotlight loomed ahead, bright against the darkness of her doubts. Would this quest for her passion and the fight against a socially imposed divide result in victory? Or would she dance into despair? The moment beckoned and she took a deep breath, stepping into the light as the world held its breath. Elena stepped onto the stage, her heart racing in time with the rhythmic beats echoing through the auditorium. The crowd momentarily hushed, anticipation hanging in the air. The spotlight hit, illuminating her like a beacon, revealing not just a cleaner, but a woman made of dreams and determination. As the music swelled, she fought to push aside the memory of Mrs. Thompson's scornful face. Each note coiled around her, urging her to shed her fears, to embrace the rhythm that coursed through her veins. She found her footing, her body recalling the steps she thought she had buried, each movement shifting her from a life of shadows to one bathed in light. Elena danced, each step telling a story. The elegance of the tango flowed from her like a river, intertwining with the anticipation of the audience. She could sense their energy, feel their approval, and it fueled her. A grin blossomed on her face as her spirit soared, reclaiming the joy that had been muted for so long. Then, in the middle of a passionate embrace, she spotted him, Mr. Thompson, standing near the stage, an unexpected presence. His eyes were wide, showing a flicker of admiration she had never seen before. She felt a jolt of power surge through her. This was a moment not just for her, but for anyone who had ever felt underestimated, underappreciated. With every twirl, she thought about her kids, how they would look up at her, their mother, a role model chasing little miracles on a big stage. Could they someday see her as more than just a waitress and a cleaner? Could they learn to chase their own dreams, no matter how out of reach they seemed? As she spun across the stage, the last note drew near. The audience was silent, breaths held in a collective silence, as if they were all dancing with her. The music faded, but the moment lingered, electrified. Elena struck her final pose, every muscle in her body taut with emotion. The applause erupted like thunder, overwhelming her senses. Cheers mixed with whistles spiraled upwards, wrapping her in a warm embrace of acceptance and triumph. Tears stung her eyes, joy crashing in waves as she soaked in the realization that she had done it. She had shared her heart, her passion, with a room full of strangers who, for a moment, felt connected to her journey. But amidst the applause, a shadow loomed. Mrs. Thompson's wrath wasn't extinguished. A part of Elena feared the repercussions. Would her moment of triumph cost her everything she had fought for? As she made her way off stage, she spotted Mr. Thompson lingering, his expression unreadable. Proof that even the best of moments came with questions. As she stepped back into the darkness, the crowd's cheers echoed in her ears. In that moment, the stage felt both magical and fragile. What would happen next? The outcome of this dance, this burst of courage, hung in the balance. Would the evolution of their relationship lead to understanding and respect? Or would it devolve into conflict once again? The future felt just as uncertain as it did bright, and despite the applause, her heart clenched with anticipation for what lay ahead. Elena stepped off the stage, still swirling in the afterglow of her performance. The cheers faded into the background, but the warmth of the moment lingered, wrapping around her like a favorite sweater. Yet, as she approached the edge of the crowd, her heart sank. Mr. Thompson remained rooted in place, a statue amidst the jubilant throng. His gaze followed her like a spotlight, a mix of surprise and contemplation. She couldn't tell if he was there to commend her or to chastise her. The exhilaration of the dance clashed with the weight of his presence. Every heartbeat felt like an echo demanding her focus. Cornered like a wild animal, she thought, anxiety creeping in. But she forced herself to breathe. This was her moment. She had fought too hard for this, learned too much through too many struggles. As she neared him, the audience swirled around, their admiration still palpable. She could hear snippets of conversations about her performance, praises whispered softly among crowd members. With each word that reached her, her confidence rebuilding brick by brick, she lifted her chin higher, reluctant to show the frailty that still clawed at her insides. "Mr. Thompson," she greeted, her voice steady despite the triple beat drumming in her chest. He took a step toward her, and for a moment, she saw vulnerability flicker across his face. "Elena," he began, his voice low but steady, laden with something she couldn't quite decipher. "I hope you enjoyed the show," she replied, turning her gaze toward the exit, hoping to slip past him and seize the moment while she still had the courage. It was jarring to think of what might come next, but the doubts clung to her like fog. "It was unexpected," he said, his lips curling into a small smile. "You were incredible." Despite herself, she felt warmth flood her cheeks. "Thank you." "Elena, wait." His voice broke through the momentary high she was riding. "What you did up there, it's not just about dancing. It's about defying expectations." The way he looked at her made her heart flutter. She couldn't help but wonder, did he see her? The real her? Would he be able to respect her now, beyond her job and societal labels? "There are people who," he hesitated, composing himself. "They will not take this kindly, you know? Your performance changes how people see you. And me, it makes them question everything." "What do you mean?" She felt a spark of defiance fire up within her. "Why should I let your circle define who I am? I won't be boxed in anymore." His expression flickered again, part surprise, part admiration. "I respect that. Truly. But not everyone will share the same sentiment." "My wife." Suddenly the weight of his words pressed against her chest. Mrs. Thompson's name hung in the air like a dark cloud. What would she do in retaliation? Would she make scrubbing floors an uphill battle all over again? As Elena stared into Mr. Thompson's eyes, she realized this was more than an obstacle. It was a crossroads. A chance to rewrite the script she thought was set in stone. But now it felt like she had something to lose, and fear started to seep back in. I can't go back to being invisible, she declared, her voice steadier than she felt. And I won't let anyone take this away. There was a moment of silence, the buzz of the crowd now a distant hum. Then Mr. Thompson nodded, maybe understanding the stakes of this unexpected alliance. But in the back of her mind, doubt still lingered. As they stood there, something shifted in the air. The dance had stirred a quiet revolution in her heart, igniting flames of determination, but it was also inviting turmoil. Out there in the bright lights, would they remain allies, or would they become adversaries? That question hung heavy, gnawing at her resolve. She took a deep breath. The future prowled just out of sight, and she felt its weight pressing against her, daring her to plunge into whatever was coming next. Would the confrontation with Mrs. Thompson plunge her back into darkness, or would it illuminate a path towards something greater? Elena, Mr. Thompson's voice returned her to the moment. I'm ready for whatever comes next, she said softly, but inside a storm was brewing. Elena held her breath, the weight of Mr. Thompson's gaze sending electric jolts down her spine. In that fleeting moment, she could sense the crossroads widening in front of her. She was teetering on the edge of a precipice, ready to leap into the unknown. What if they judge me? What if this is just a giant target on my back? Those thoughts wrestled with her newfound courage. She had fought too hard for this moment to let it slip away. Maybe it's time to redefine my story, she thought, inhaling deeply, steeling herself for the confrontation she knew was coming. His next words came slowly, almost hesitant. I admire your spirit, truly. But facing my wife, he trailed off, a frown etching deeper lines on his forehead. She can be difficult. Difficult? Or threatened? Elena challenged, surprising even herself. The little voice of doubt was pushing her to say more, to stand her ground. There's power in what I did tonight. And if she can't see that, it's her own struggle, not mine. Mr. Thompson looked taken aback. Was that respect or concern dancing in his hazel eyes? For the first time, she felt like her words cut through more than just the air between them. They were piercing through a long-held perception. The weight of Mrs. Thompson's likely response loomed, yet it pushed her to stand a little taller before he could respond. The crowd began to disperse. Laughter and conversation spilled out into the night, leaving Elena and Mr. Thompson wrapped in tension. Do you think you can face her? He asked, uncertainty tugging at his features. She thought of Mrs. Thompson's perfectly manicured facade and how effortless it seemed to uphold her expectations of grandeur. Yet inside, beneath that polished exterior, was a woman who had once also fought battles of her own. We all have our fears, Elena replied, a determination rising in her chest. But I refuse to be swept under the rug. He blinked, and behind the confusion, she saw a flicker of admiration. It was a small victory, but one that filled her with hope. Let us face this together, he said finally, as if the words themselves were an anchor for both of them. If it comes to it, I'll stand beside you. The thought danced around her heart. An ally in the storm, strange but welcome. Thank you, she replied, feeling a warmth spread through her. But I'm not asking for your protection. I need this to be my fight. Elena, Mr. Thompson said softly. You have no idea what Mrs. Thompson is capable of. I've seen darker days, she shot back, her voice growing firm. And I survived. I'm not going back. As she spoke those words, a realization washed over her. This wasn't just about her, it was about all the women like her who felt unseen, unheard. She had to stand tall, not only for herself but as a beacon for others searching for their light. Are you ready? Mr. Thompson asked, his eyes locking onto hers with newfound clarity. More than ever. The truth of her resolve resonated deep, resonating like a heartbeat. Let us go. They stepped out of the shelter of the crowd and into the unpredictability of what lay ahead. Uncertainty loomed large, but there was a fire of purpose burning in her veins. As they walked towards the looming specter of Mrs. Thompson's wrath, Elena couldn't shake off the sense that the storm was just beginning. She felt alive, exhilarated, and definitely scared, but for the first time, in control. Would her stand against Mrs. Thompson strengthen her resolve, or would it unravel everything she had fought to build? The door ahead inched closer, a world of confrontation waiting just beyond. As they approached the imposing door, the faint sound of classical music fluttered through the air, drifting out from the warm glow of the chandelier-lit interior. Elena's heart raced. each beat echoing the urgency of the moment. This was it. There was no turning back. She could feel Mr. Thompson's presence beside her, a reassuring weight against the uncertainty that loomed ahead. "Remember," he whispered under his breath, "stay true to yourself." She nodded, the courage she had mustered earlier settling into a steady resolve. With one swift movement, her hand reached for the handle, and she pulled the door open, the hinges creaking like an omen inside. The sprawling living room was already filled with guests enjoying cocktails and hors d'oeuvres. Laughter tinkled like bells, but it fell quiet as Elena and Mr. Thompson stepped across the threshold. Eyes turned and the atmosphere shifted, dense and curious. Mrs. Thompson stood by the grand piano, her smooth blonde hair cascading over her shoulders like a golden waterfall. Instinctively, she straightened up, catching sight of the duo. Her gaze fell first on Mr. Thompson, then it flicked to Elena, the fire in her eyes igniting something powerful and untamed. "Oh, how lovely to see you," Mrs. Thompson said, her voice sugary sweet, but layered with an icy undertone. Elena swallowed hard, searching for her voice in the tension thick as fog. "Thank you for the invitation," she managed, clutching onto the determined edge that had propelled her here. "Your performance tonight was interesting," Mrs. Thompson said, as a hint of condescension curved her lips. "A tango, you said? What a daring choice for a cleaning lady." Elena felt the heat of humiliation creeping up her neck, but she did not falter. "It was a reminder that anyone can dance to the rhythm of their own life," she replied, her heart pounding defiantly. "I believe we should all get a chance to showcase our talents no matter where we come from." The room was silent now. Her boldness bounced off the walls and landed heavily in the space between them. She caught Mr. Thompson's eye and saw a flicker of support. Mrs. Thompson's eyes narrowed, and an amused smirk surfaced. "How quaint. You think you're some sort of inspiration?" Her voice dripped with sarcasm. "I must warn you, dear. A little audacity can lead to heavy consequences." Elena's pulse quickened. The challenge had been thrown down, but so had a glimmer of something deeper: fear. Standing firm against Mrs. Thompson meant risking her own dignity, and yet Elena found herself not backing down but pushing forward. "And what makes you so sure I can't last in the face of your disdain?" A murmur rustled through the crowd, both exciting and terrifying. Was this actually happening? Would she be swallowed whole by the woman who had put a lifetime of expectations on a pedestal? Mrs. Thompson stepped forward, her presence both unsettling and commanding. "Let me make myself clear, Elena." She leaned in, lowering her voice to a conspiratorial whisper. "Cross me and you'll regret it. You think your dance was brave? You haven't seen what I'm capable of." Elena felt a shiver crawl down her spine, but she straightened her back and met Mrs. Thompson's gaze head-on. "And you haven't seen what I'm capable of just yet," she replied, her voice steady. Caught in this escalating battle, Elena felt an unexpected wave of empowerment heal her uncertainty. Every woman in the room seemed to hold her breath. For the first time, she was not alone in this struggle. This confrontation was bigger than her. It was a fight for respect, recognition, and strength. "Are you really prepared to take this on?" she asked, daring Mrs. Thompson to respond as the silence stretched between them. Elena could only hope she hadn't just placed herself in the crosshairs, but before she could think further, another figure rounded the corner, a woman with an air of confidence that lit the room like sunshine. And when she caught sight of the brewing tension, curiosity and intrigue danced across her features. Elena's heart skipped. Who was she? What role would this newcomer play in her already turbulent battle? With the stakes rising higher, the layers of the story started to peel away, revealing the depths of insecurities each woman carried. Would this stranger complicate things further? Or be the ally Elena didn't know she needed? With uncertainty swirling in the air, the drama was only just beginning. The sudden arrival of the new woman felt electric. Her rich, dark curls framed a radiant face, and she wore a deep blue dress that hugged her figure effortlessly. She moved through the crowd with purpose, each step echoing confidence, and it was impossible not to take notice. Guests turned their heads, whispers of admiration trailing in her wake. "Is that Emily Jacobs?" someone gasped from the back of the room. The name hung in the air, laced with awe. Elena's pulse quickened. She had heard stories about Emily, a local artist who had made waves in the art scene and was known for her charity work. But here she was, about to jump right into the middle of this charged moment as Emily approached. Her keen eyes glinted with recognition. "Elena," she said, a genuinely warm smile spreading across her face. "I didn't expect to see you here. I heard about your dance tonight. It was bold. I admired that." Elena found herself blinking, caught off guard by the kindness. "Thank you," she replied, feeling a swell of warmth rise in her chest. Amid the tension that had enveloped her for the past few minutes, this simple acknowledgement felt like a ray of sunshine peeking through dark clouds. Mrs. Thompson's icy demeanor faltered slightly, eyes flickering back and forth between the two women. "And what do you know of boldness, dear?" she shot, her tone sharp as if trying to slice through the warmth in the room. Emily turned to face her, her expression unyielding. "Boldness comes in many forms, Mrs. Thompson. Just like courage often wears an unexpected face." The tension crackled as if the entire room held its breath, waiting for a reaction. Elena couldn't help but feel a rush of gratitude for the support. She had entered this space prepared for battle, but now with Emily standing beside her, she felt fortified. Maybe this really was her moment to seize. "Why don't we dance?" Emily suggested, glancing towards the grand piano. A tango would suit the spirit of the night. Elena's heart leaped at the offer. Dancing had always been her sanctuary, a place where she found solace amidst chaos. With a nod, she stepped away from the confines of the group, feeling the thrill of the spotlight shift onto her once more. As the music swelled, she pulled Emily into her world, moving with grace and fervor. It felt liberating, sharing the stage and weaving the fabric of their stories together through the movements. Elena could see Mrs. Thompson's frustrated frown from the corner of her eye. That smirk from earlier had melted into something bitter, but she didn't care. In this moment, she was not just a cleaning lady. She was a performer, each turn and dip igniting passion beneath her skin. Emily matched her energy effortlessly, the two of them swirling in a vivid tapestry of resilience against the opulence surrounding them. As they finished the sequence, applause erupted. The crowd was alive, drawn into the energy of the performance. But Elena locked eyes with Mrs. Thompson, who was now fuming, her fingers trembling at her side. "Let us see how long this charade lasts," Mrs. Thompson whispered, barely audible but chilling nonetheless. Elena's heart raced with a mix of exhilaration and anxiety. She realized this dance was more than just an expression of artistry. It was a testament to her strength against manipulation and judgment. But with a powerful ally by her side, what would they do next? They had summoned the storm, but would it wash away the barriers or drown them both? Elena's resolve tightened. Whatever the outcome, she was ready to embrace it. As the applause began to fade, the air shifted once more. Another challenge awaited, lurking in the shadows. And somehow deep down Elena knew this was just the beginning. What truth lay hidden if she dared to dig deeper into the world around her? Elena felt the adrenaline pulse through her veins as she took a breath, still riding the high from the dance. The exhilaration of the performance muddled her thoughts, but they soon sharpened into focus as she glanced around the room, still buzzing from the applause. Eyes glimmered with admiration, and laughter echoed like music, mixing with lingering notes from the piano. Mrs. Thompson stood at the edge of the crowd, her expression like thunderclouds gathering for a storm. What was brewing behind that scowl? Elena shivered at the thought, feeling the weight of the woman's discontent hanging heavily over her newfound joy. "Let us grab a drink," Emily suggested, guiding her toward the bar. "You danced beautifully. The way you ignited the room was something special." Her voice was soothing, laced with unyielding support, and Elena felt the tension begin to ease as they reached the counter. "Thank you." A laugh escaped Elena's lips, light and free. "I thought I'd forget to breathe up there." "Not a chance. You owned that moment." Emily turned to the bartender, still beaming. "I'll have a sparkling water and whatever else my friend is having." "A little cheap champagne couldn't hurt," Elena said with a grin, finally feeling like she stepped onto the right stage. She was among the artful, the bold, the realm where she belonged. As they toasted with their glasses, the music shifted to a slower, more intimate melody. "You're really something. Have you ever considered taking dance classes?" Emily asked, her tone full of curiosity. Elena could hardly suppress a snicker. "You make it sound so easy, but I'm afraid I lack the proper finesse." "Balderdash. You've got something most people don't, a heart that moves through art. The warmth emanating from Emily was palpable. It stirred something in Elena. A flicker of inspiration she had almost forgotten existed. Possible imaginations flickered in her mind, art classes, creative endeavors, more moments like this. But then the sharp clarity of reality pierced her daydream. Hey, not everyone can be an artist, she replied, trying to mask her longing. Especially when you're just cleaning up after the show. Cleaning can be an art too. It's all about the perspective, Emily countered firmly. You have to see beyond the surface. There's beauty in the struggle. Elena bit her lip, the weight of those words sinking in. True, but society has a funny way of judging worth, she mused, glancing back at Mrs. Thompson, who moved through the crowd like a predator circling her prey. I don't think anyone at this gala sees a cleaner as an artist. Let them think what they like. Emily's voice was resolute. Your talent shines brighter than their insecurities. What do you fear? Elena drew a deep breath. This was more than just a night out. It felt vital, even revolutionary. A flicker of hope ignited in her chest, and she hesitated, realizing the depths of her own desires. Before she could answer, a sharp laugh cut through the air. Isn't that adorable? A cleaner dreaming of grandeur. It was Mrs. Thompson, her words dripping with disdain, forcing Elena to lock in on those piercing eyes, the embodiment of social snobbery. Who do you think you are? Elena fired back, her voice unexpectedly brave. Living only for opinion? I can see through the facade. This charged moment hung suspended between them, the crowd watching with bated breath. Elena had crossed a boundary, and now, the room crackled with a new energy, antagonism and inspiration colliding. The world around her felt unsteady as she held her ground against the bleak facade of status and privilege. But could she truly stand tall against such disdain? The moment felt like a flame catching wind, and Elena's heart raced with both trepidation and excitement. Maybe this battle wasn't just for herself. As tensions reached a boiling point, all eyes shifting to the impending conflict, the question loomed. What would happen when lines were drawn, and walls began to crumble? Where would Elena find the courage to take her stand, and would it change everything? Elena's heart thudded in her chest as Mrs. Thompson's laugh echoed around the room, a sharp weapon aimed straight at her. She felt a brief sweep of uncertainty, the room swirling under her like a dance floor gone wild. She had crossed a threshold, calling out a powerful woman in front of her peers. The buzz of conversation dulled, and it felt like all the air escaped, leaving only the thrill of battle in her lungs. Is this what you call talent? A little choreography beneath your broomsticks? Mrs. Thompson pressed, her smug expression a taunting mask. Behind her, the guests murmured, some voicing soft gasps, while others shifted their attention back to their drinks, uncomfortable with the unfolding drama. I'm more than what you think, Elena replied, clutching her champagne glass with fingers tight enough to turn her white-knuckled. You may see a cleaner, but I see a person who feels deeply. That's the real art. Emily took a half-step forward, her eyes flashing with resolve. You may not understand the language of art, Mrs. Thompson, but it doesn't mean others are not entitled to speak it. Elena met Emily's gaze, drawing strength from her friend. Could this confrontation be the pivot she needed? The spark she was yearning for? Each heartbeat drummed in time with the music softly playing in the background, overshadowed by this tension. Art is for those with genuine talent, not for those who chase empty dreams, Mrs. Thompson shot back, but a flicker of uncertainty crept into her voice. Perhaps she felt the weight of her own judgments now laid bare. The crowd buzzed in whispers. Elena tried to focus. She wasn't just exposing the truth of her worth anymore. She was challenging a system that defined value purely by status and wealth. Maybe dreams should stay empty then if you can't see beyond the facade. Elena leaned in closer, her voice low yet steady. But I refuse to back down. I will not be defined by your narrow view of the world. Several guests turned to her with surprise, admiration even. There was a new energy radiating from her, a courage stemming from somewhere deep within. The initial skepticism was transforming into a sense of solidarity. With each breath, she ignited something within herself that had been buried too long. She could feel the pulse of art running through her veins, the art of fighting for her voice, her dreams, her despair, and her laughter. Why does it scare you? Elena pressed further, suddenly curious about what drove Mrs. Thompson. Why do you feel the need to belittle someone else to uplift yourself? The words hung heavy in the air as the crowd seemed to collectively draw a breath. Elena felt vulnerable yet powerful, thrust into a spotlight she had not sought but desperately needed in that charged moment. Mrs. Thompson's mask slipped ever so slightly. The disdain cleared a bit as if she had been caught in the light, and for a heartbeat, she seemed just as human as Elena. Before she could respond, someone else in the crowd interjected. Elena's right, Mrs. Thompson. It's time to recognize talent wherever it shines. Applause began to rise, small at first but quickly snowballing. Voices echoing support that reverberated around the room. Elena's heart raced but now with newfound confidence. Maybe this was the moment she'd been waiting for, a stance that might inspire others. But even as the applause surrounded her, a familiar sense of vulnerability crept back in. What came next? Would this be enough to shake the foundations of a society built on judgment? Mrs. Thompson's face hardened again, turning into a mask of anger, her eyes flashing like steel. You will regret this, mark my words. And just like that, the atmosphere shifted, the thrill of victory now tinged with the looming weight of consequences. Would Elena hold on to her courage, or would the fear of backlash send her spiraling? In this turning point, as the crowd continued to react, Elena felt the ground beneath her teeter. What awaited her in the aftermath of this confrontation? Would it propel her to the heights of her dreams or plunge her into shadows? The air crackled with the promise of change, but at what cost? As the applause cascaded around her, Elena's mind raced. A tide of emotions washed over her: exhilaration, fear, and a burning determination that almost felt palpable. She glanced at Emily, who cracked a proud smile, mirroring the spark of rebellion igniting within her friend. But as quickly as those feelings surged, a chill ran down her spine at Mrs. Thompson's dark threat. Regret? Elena whispered to herself, the word hanging heavily as she scanned the room, searching for support anew. The chatter started again, albeit a bit louder, with whispers of admiration creeping through the crowd. Yet in the back of her mind lingered a familiar dread. Was she really ready to face the repercussions? Mrs. Thompson glared, her posture rigid. You think this little stunt will make a difference? You're nothing without me backing you. The confidence in her voice was gradually eroding, a sign that perhaps she sensed the tide was turning. But the darkness in her eyes left Elena unsettled. I don't need your approval, Elena shot back, the sting of her words laced with pent-up frustration. I don't need anyone's approval. The crowd hushed once more, sensing a shift in the atmosphere. With a deep breath, Elena turned back to the crowd, her heart racing and feelings spilling out like a river breaking through its dam. I dance not for approval, but for joy, she declared, her voice steady. For the beauty of movement, the rhythm of life running through me. That's where true talent lies. Warmth spread through her as she glanced at the diverse faces nodding in support. Then came a ripple of applause, once more, louder this time. An unexpected rush of confidence filled her veins. But her exhilaration crumbled under the weight of looming confrontation, as she turned her gaze back to Mrs. Thompson. You've built your empire on disdain and belittling those around you. What are you really afraid of? The room felt electric, the tension palpable, every eye on Mrs. Thompson, waiting for her to retaliate. People leaned in closer, breath collectively caught, anticipating some grand proclamation. Silence enveloped Mrs. Thompson for a brief moment, vulnerability flickering across her expression. You have no idea what it takes to succeed in this world, she rasped, her voice dripping with disdain. It's not about art or dance, it's about survival. Then let us redefine survival, Elena said, her conviction echoing like a battle cry. Let us fight for the beauty in our struggles, for the hope buried beneath expectations. The crowd erupted, a wave of applause and cheers washing over them. But Mrs. Thompson stepped back, seething. You think this will end well for you? You know nothing of the real world. Elena felt a tightness in her chest beneath her bravado. Would she succeed where others failed? Perhaps a new world is emerging, Elena whispered, more to herself than the audience. She had ignited something in these people, a thirst for change, for recognition of their worth. With each heartbeat a reminder of her decision, she ventured deeper into her heart's call. Let us dance like the world was watching, she said, eyes gleaming. Let us dare to have a voice that will resound. The energy in the room vibrated with renewed life, But Mrs. Thompson's fury darkened the atmosphere. "I will make you regret this, Elena," she warned, her voice low and threatening, like a storm brewing on the horizon. And as the guests began to rally around Elena, her heart soared. But brewing underneath that joy was a sharp realization. The battle had only just begun. What if Mrs. Thompson wielded more power than she understood? The shadows of uncertainty crept in as the applause continued, leaving Elena wondering if her newfound courage could withstand the oncoming storm. Would she cower under the weight of fear? Or could she transform her passion into strength? Determination surged within her, but the question lingered: how far was she willing to go to claim her voice? Would she find the courage to stand tall? Or would her dreams fracture beneath the weight of someone else's disdain? Elena stood in the center of the crowd, energized yet apprehensive, the tide of support swirling around her like a warm embrace. She could feel the heartbeat of the audience, a powerful rhythm that pulsed with every expectation she had shattered. This was her moment, a culmination of every sacrifice she'd made for her kids, for herself. Still, the dark shadow of Mrs. Thompson loomed large, threatening to eclipse her light. "Regret," she whispered again, the word tasting bitter on her tongue. What would that mean? Lost chances? Weakened resolve? The crowd surged with applause, but a knot tightened in her stomach. She had come here to dance her truth, and yet she stared down the barrel of a reckoning. "Are you ready for whatever comes next?" Mr. Thompson's voice, low yet resolute, broke through the chaos of her thoughts. It was a warm reminder of their earlier pact, of standing together against the weight of what society deemed acceptable. And for the first time tonight, she felt the strength pooling within her, igniting flames of hope that pushed through the fog. "More than ever," she replied, her voice steady, her heartbeat matching the resolve within. The bravery she had shown on stage echoed in her mind. This was a fight worth having, a battle for her dignity and her children's future. Mrs. Thompson, flanked by guests who seemed to be half eager, half appalled, took a step forward. "You think this little performance gives you power?" she sneered, her eyes flashing with contempt. "I'm not the only one in this room capable of making your life miserable." A chill swept through Elena, but instead of shrinking, she moved closer to Mr. Thompson, finding steadiness in their alliance. "Nothing can take away what I have achieved tonight," she said, her voice unwavering. "Your approval is not my measure of worth. Or maybe you're just scared of what true talent looks like." "It might drown you," Elena challenged, her spirit igniting. All eyes were upon them now, an electric silence pressing down as the pendulum of power swayed. But Mrs. Thompson's composure was cracking. The veneer of entitlement was crumbling, the malice revealing a hurt she had buried deep. "You don't understand," she said, her voice low, almost a whisper now. "People won't change overnight. And neither will my spirit." Elena stepped forward, a wave of courage washing over her. "Will you let me show you what it means to embrace change? Or will you let your fears define who you are?" There was a moment, a split second, where the realization flickered across Mrs. Thompson's face. She was human after all. But just as the hope bubbled, Mrs. Thompson's frosty mask descended anew. "You dance beautifully, but you're still just a cleaner, a nobody." That cut deep. Elena pressed her lips together, willing herself to breathe through the pain. "I may be a cleaner, but I refuse to let that define me. I can embrace both." The crowd murmured in agreement, the distance between Elena and Mrs. Thompson slowly eroding. Mr. Thompson interjected, stepping beside Elena, a pillar of support. "It's about time we all redefine our roles. This is more than about your worlds colliding, Mrs. Thompson. This is about allowing people to rise, not just tear them down." "What's this? A revolt?" Mrs. Thompson scoffed, but there was uncertainty in her eyes. Shadows of fear danced there too, and maybe even an echo of admiration. "You think this will end without consequences? I can still close doors." "Perhaps," Elena said, a soft smile creeping onto her lips. "But it's understanding what it feels like to open new ones that will make it all worth it." With a deep breath, she turned back to the crowd, inviting them to rally around her. "We're all more than our circumstances. Let us lift each other up." The applause erupted again, a thunderous wave that washed away the staleness of Mrs. Thompson's disdain. Feeling buoyed by the collective cheer, Elena glanced at Emily, who stood in the crowd, her eyes sparkling with pride. This was a moment of unity that stretched beyond any single performance. The audience stood there as a community, no longer divided by societal labels. As the ecstatic cheers echoed in her ears, Elena understood that this confrontation had sparked a fire not just for her, but for everyone who had ever felt reduced to their circumstances. The reality of that flickered in the round of applause that enveloped her, an invitation to dance beyond the confines of definition, towards a brighter future. Standing there, she took a bold step back toward Mrs. Thompson, eyes glowing with purpose. Your fear doesn't have to dictate our paths. Let us create space, not just for art but for open hearts. Why should I? The venom returned to Mrs. Thompson's voice, but now it felt less potent, more a defensive shield. Because change begins with us here and now. It's not too late. Elena felt the spiraling trust of the crowd around her. Each person an integral part of change. Mothers, fathers, artists, everyone finding their place in this revelation. She looked into Mrs. Thompson's eyes. She saw something flicker beneath the surface, a glimmer of vulnerability. Are you brave enough to step into the light? Elena asked, the question punctuating the room. For a moment silence reigned. Each heart in the crowd beat as one, drawing the thread connecting them, a common humanity. And then Mrs. Thompson gazed around at all those witnessing her struggle, the power struggling within her. Maybe I am, she whispered, her eyes shimmering as she took an involuntary step back. Elena felt relief wash over her, the echoes of their battle now transforming into the sound of possibility. Then let us walk each other back into the world, she said, her voice carrying conviction that soared. As they stood there, united in their uncertainty yet fierce in their resolve, it became clear. This was not just the end of an old conflict, but the dawn of a new beginning. And as Elena tipped her head back, shedding the weight of fear, she stepped closer to Mrs. Thompson, offering a truce not just in conflict but in understanding. Let us create a world where we all can dance. As applause thundered, a new awareness filled the room. Change was here, vibrant and alive. No longer discouraged by surface judgments, they stood shoulder to shoulder, Cleaner and Millionaire beaming with the glow of newfound respect. As the evening wore on, a sweetness lingered in the air, a reminder of the power within transformation that lived in the hearts of anyone willing to dance. One step into the light was all it took to find the way forward. With her heart bursting, Elena grinned. She had claimed her voice, changed a heart, and ignited a community, all with one courageous tango. In that moment, the past faded. The future brightened, and love upheld them all. And as the laughter of the crowd filled the air, a clarion call echoed loudly. Dreams were meant to be lived, not just imagined. So if you felt that spark ignite within you, now is your moment. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, making these stories so every click truly makes a difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share your own journey of transformation. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this beauty unfold. A true fan understands the importance of supporting this channel through these actions.